And I'm recording.
All right, and I need you to make me the presenter if you can.
There we go, Cam. I've granted you presenter rights. You should be good.
Ah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Unless you just want to drive, that'd be okay. All right.
Something tells me that if I did, the meeting would go past 2 hours.
Okay, then you do not get presenter rights then. All right. So let's see. Do you guys see actually your application up on my screen? That looks better.
There we go. I got you on my side.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right. So I struggled back and forth where to actually start this training. I'm only going to go back into PowerPoint if we need to perhaps cover a concept, that I have on a slide versus doing things through the live application. But I think we're going to spend most of our time either in your application or in one of my test systems. For a couple reasons. One is the whole idea here is to look at the queries that you guys wrote. We'll see if there are any questions. I know we did this last meeting. We asked for questions. But here we're actually going to go in and look at some of the queries that were written and perhaps some ideas around, thoughts behind text queries versus audio queries. Then the next portion that I was going to go into is we're going to look at query groups. So that's where I'm going to actually take you into my one of my test environments, and we'll look at a query group and how it looks in administration, how we build it, and then how it looks in reporting, because this will help you understand and think about how you want to use query groups in your application or in your environment. And then finally which was the name of this, was all about reporting. So it used to be in reporting when we were doing text and audio together, we had a separate group of reports that were called multi-channel reports. And that has gone away, and the concept of, again, an interaction as an interaction comes into play. And so in order to run a report, we're just going to run the typical interaction category report that you're used to, or the trending report that you're used to. The only difference is we're going to select sessions that may have both audio and text queries in it. And if that's the case, then we can do some choosing, is what do we want to view and how do we want to view it. But from how the reports work, they work very, just like they always have. Your reporting prompts are a little bit different just because we have additional items. And then when we actually go into a report, it looks different. That sounds good to everyone? Or any other topics that we might want to cover?
At
All
this
right.
I think that
moment,
sounds good to us. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Good. Good. All right. I always take silence as good. So looking at some of these, and I looked them up based on what was in my Chem test session. So I had some of these test queries in here. I actually wrote some of them, and some of them you guys, someone on your side has written. So just as we open, I'm going to go ahead and edit. Well, we'll just look at the text here, the query text. So the remote access, certainly when we were writing this, as an audio query, we'd want to build phonetic content, right? In an audio query, it's all about giving you rich phonetic content so you could return your results. And the reason we would do that is because of the world of phonetics, we would return things that are close. So if I say remotely access or remote access in a query, both of those calls, because we're talking about audio right now, both of those calls would have been returned because they were close. In text, it's a little bit different because text is, by default, text is exactly what you're typing, right? So if I were to type remote access, right here I'm looking at remotely access. If I were looking at remote access, remotely wouldn't come into play unless I use some kind of wildcard or matching level. So sometimes, the way we think, and here's here's remote access and remotely access for that reason, right? Is because it was exact, and this query was longer than this. The other thing is here we have press the windows and press windows. Once again, it's that the words in between the keywords are different. And again, from an audio perspective, the way we would handle that is just pick one of them and write the query and see how it scores out and see if we need to add the other phrase. In text, a little bit different because you don't have the dispositioning available to you. You don't have, a threshold that you're using to determine what calls or what interactions will be in your result set. So I think what we're going to find as we begin writing more and more text queries is that we'll start using the AND operator a lot more. So I would look for press and windows within 2 words of each other, right? Now here again, you have to make sure that you don't, in the AND, you don't put a high number of words, so you start entering a bunch of false positives because the context of the chat is no longer correct. But that's where we can use if we type in press and we use, for example, the related phrases or the phrase extensions, this will guide us into what are the typical phrases and is there a way that I can use the AND operator to join those 2 key words together without having to type the phrase a number of different ways. Now, in saying that, if your interactions say connect to the technician, then that's what you type, right? This isn't about deconstructing all of my queries. It's just about another way of thinking about it. So again, we may find ourselves using many more ands with X number of words in between, and then ORing those together at the end of the day, just so we don't have to write the number of ways. Then also remember we have the matching levels, and the matching levels you have to be really careful with. If you guys played with the matching levels at all, you've seen where it is 1 or 2 characters changed, but it's changed per word. So if you have a phrase that's multiple words, right, now I can change 2 characters in Secure, 2 characters in Microsoft, and 2 characters in Tool to come up with a different phrase. And it's surprising at how quickly your whole context can change. But they are there for, to help you with, for example, misspellings or those transposed letters. You just have to watch and actually, do some investigating around the matching levels to see if it's something that causes more problems or if it actually solves the problems of the misspelling. Okay. And here someone wrote one about error codes, right? So it's check the error, error code, error message, getting an error. So it's all around that word error and an error code. So it may be that, once again, I haven't done any investigation on this, but using an and may help us in finding more interactions that are talking about errors and codes without having to add more phrases, but simply using the and statement. I think the one example that I did was my download Office. So in my download Office, they could say, I'm trying to download Office, I'm trying to do the Office download, I'm downloading Microsoft Office or Office 365. There's a lot of different ways they could say this. And by using just the word download Office, ending them together with 6 words, up to 6 words in between them, and then only looking in the first part of the interaction, now I can find those chats that are talking about downloading Office. Again, if I go out and I actually look at these results, it may be that this is still just too generic, right? Maybe I'm getting a lot of other calls out there that definitely are talking about Office and download, but the relationship is not there. So 6 words may be too many. It's going to take some time again to just understand the chats and how people are talking about things. And then if I did the self-help, I found the word self, or the phrase self-help a lot, and then troubleshoot on your own, which would also indicate self-help. And so those are the 2 phrases that I put together very quickly to form a chat query. Any questions about the queries, the thoughts around queries? I think it's going to take some, especially for those that have been used to writing audio queries. It's a little bit different way of thinking. Conceptually, it's the same. I still have to identify phrases. I still want to make sure the content and context is correct. I want to make sure that I'm not typing in something that's too general that will bring me all results, from different topics. My queries should still be topic oriented, meaning I want to talk about one thing: email issues, right? Error message, installation issues. So, even these could be, I could write additional queries around the installation issues as to what are those issues that they're having problems with. But this would help me get to that bucket of calls that are having installation issues or invalid product keys, etc. Remember, when we get to the queries, we just want to make sure that we select what type of interaction, because for each, and this is going to lead us into the next topic of query groups, but each media type has to have its own query. So I cannot write one query and point it to audio and to chat. I have to have a query that is for audio and a query that is for chat. And this makes sense if we think about it simply because of the way audio works. It is phonetic. So what we do when we write an audio query and compile it, we actually have to go down and take the phonetics out of the query, right? Create the phonetic representation for the query of what are those phrases, and run those phonemes against the audio file or against the audio track. In chat, we don't have to do that. We just simply take the pure text and run it against the chat. the ASR chest. So did you guys come up with any other questions about text queries that we might be able to talk about here?
I don't know if there are questions. One of the things that I did notice was that wildcards were really, really useful as opposed to changing the actual level of the query from like 0 to 1. Especially if I happen to know that there was just one word like activated, for example, or activating, activate, conjugating that as opposed to changing the actual level of the query, so all the words could potentially shift. If I was only looking for just one, wildcards were really awesome. That was the star. Asterisk.
Yep.
I don't know, that's not so much a question as a comment.
Yeah, I think, and thank you for bringing that up, because I do think that's very important, is using those wildcards is very helpful. And I'm with you. The matching levels are interesting. I haven't found a place where it's as useful as doing the wildcard. To your point, cancel, cancellations, canceled, whether or not they spell it with one L or two L, if you just write the word cancel and put an asterisk, you're going to capture them all. So that's the beauty of it. And you can use, those asterisks within the phrase. So it's cancel asterisk, right? And then whatever, or activate. So that's a great comment. I appreciate that. All right. So for just a moment, I am going to actually go over to my training, one of the testing servers. And in here, I'm going to go to query groups. And I want to start at the query groups because it's an interesting way to look at it and then determine or to understand what's going to happen when I use these in reportings. So you can have up to 5 levels of query groups. I'm sorry, let me just change to list view first. So this is the default view. It is the list view. And it shows me my query group name and at what level. So if we think about this, our query groups start at level 1. So level 1 would just contain queries. So if we think about it, our queries are actually level 0. The first group groups queries together. The second group groups level 1s together. The third group groups level 2s together. So when I go in and I create let me just do that, I'll create a new one. And you'll notice the first thing it says is, well, what level do you want this at? Since I have level 1 selected, I see a list of all of my queries, because that's what I can add to a level 1, are just my queries. If I change this to level 2, notice that my available child groups are all level 1, meaning they already contain queries. So this would be a group of groups. Again, if I go to level 3, notice now I only have level 2 groups that I could add to my level 3, and so on. So 5 groups is a lot, and there may be uses for that, but you really have to think about, what are you trying to do? Why are you trying to group these? And is it typically it's from a reporting thought process. I want to group my dissatisfied customers together. And so how do I define dissatisfied? Could be, the level below, and then the actual queries are below that. So this is again from a list view. Let me just close this and go to the tree view. So again, the list view is going to list them all and just give you the level that it's at. Of course, if I click on it, it will show us, what is contained with it and where it's used. But if I go to the tree view, I think this really helps me understand from a reporting standpoint what I'm going to get. So if I run a report and I say, run it at the level 2, then what it's going to do is on my report, I am going to get a bar for each of the level 1 query groups contained in level 2. So my level 2 would let's just open one. So my level 2 would be a bill pay group, which actually contains 2 queries. It also has a billing questions group, which contains 2 queries. Notice that one is chat and one is audio. They can both be audio, they can both be chat, it doesn't matter. It's just a way, again, to group or sum those interaction types together into a group so I could see, hey, overall, I'm taking, X number of interactions on bill pay. When I drill into it, I see, so many of them are chat and so many of them are audio. So I may be taking 1,000 interactions on bill pay, but, the 70% of them, for example, are chats, or 70% are billing. So again, it helps me to group things together and then drill in and see what are the components that are made of it. Now, here again, we have to, at least I did, I had to, map this out on a piece of paper kind of first, is to understanding, what is it that I'm trying to present? Because this is, as we get down to it, this is for reporting, right? It's so in reporting I can show bars on graphs. So what is it that we want to show and what is it we want to be able to drill into? So this is kind of, again, what it looks like from a, look at my dissatisfied group 2, contains did not order and dissatisfaction. If you'll notice, dissatisfaction actually has 2 audio queries, one that is angry customers, one is dissatisfied customers, and then a dissatisfied chat query. My did not order finds those that are in chat talking about didn't order, and those that are in audio. And remember, these are all at level 2. This bill group 2, this dissatisfied 2. So what I need to know, from a, go all the way back to reporting. So what I need to know now is, okay, I've written these groups. Let's see what they look like from a report standpoint. So I'm going to go into categorization reporting, and I'm just going to go to interaction categories. Again, this is just on a test server. And I'm going to, when I am prompted, so I know we've walked through this. It's been a while, but you'll have your report prompts. They're the same prompts. They look a little bit different. And in the current implementation, you actually click on the prompt name to expand and collapse, not the arrow. So it's the name that you click on to expand and collapse. So I have my date range. I have filter bys I'm not going to do. And this is where it's important, my report by. What level do I want to report by? So I'm going to report by level 2 and see what it gets me. When I run the report, just like in a query, what it's going to do is it's going to show me, all right, these are all of the level 2 groups. Which one do you want to put on the report? And I'm going to say all of them. And just change my date range and run my report. So it's an interaction category, so I know that actually my categories are going to be, in this case, their query group level 2s are going to be my bars on my graph. And I'm just going to go ahead and go into graph mode just because it's easier to do some of this examples. So at this level, I still have my metrics as to what percent hit rate, so what percentage of these hit. So of all my interactions, right, services group 2 hit 58% of the time. I also have my unique media files hit. So I can see, all right, it's 59%, which equates to 677 interactions. And then I also have, well, how many were searched. So I searched based on my other criteria. I searched, just over 1,100 interactions. Or 1,100 interactions were processed is a better way to look at that. So this is cool. I also have another drop down, which is my audio. So how many of these were audio calls? 315 were audio, and I also had chats, and the 833 were chats, and so then my total is the 1,100. And once again, without doing anything else, I could also, right, change my, hits. Well, how many hit, right? How many are my audio hits? How many are my my chat hits, etc. I could also take this down. Actually, I'll go ahead and do that and then just undo it. So I could move this to my rows. And if I move it to my rows, right, now it's going to say, and there's different ways I can look at it. Let's go ahead and sort on media type. Here are all my audio queries. Here are all my chat queries. And here are the totals. Again, if I wanted to look at it a different way, I could move. I could move my query group to the left and sort. And now I'm going to see, okay, here are my bill group, the total, the audio, and the chat hits. For dissatisfied group, the total, the audio, the chat hits, etc. So once again, I could bring it down into my report from the page by, or I could leave it in the page by and just be able to view it by using the drop down. So this is all great. I'm going to go ahead and move this back up to my page by. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is filter on my media type, and then show what type of what type of metric I want to display on the graph. So this is great. As we've seen with regular reporting, we can drill. Now I can do what's called one-click drill. So if I just click on the bill group, that says, hey, you're interested only in the bill group. All of this other data will be removed from your report. I can't get back to it. So if I want to focus in on one, I can do that by clicking on the actual attribute element, such as bill group. But what I want to show you is a little more advanced drill. So I could right-click on the attribute header and drill to query group level 1. Let's see what happens when I do that. Now notice that I have my bill group 2 and then all of my query group levels. So I didn't just focus on the bill group. Because I went from the attribute level, I'm now looking at all of my query group level 1s. And once again, if I right-click and drill, again, my hierarchy is query. So it's query, level 1, level 2. So I can drill down into queries, and now I can see at the query level for each of my queries. Notice I have media type is chat, and therefore all of my audio queries equal 0 because it says, hey, filter only on the chat. I'll change it to total, and then I'll get the totals for all of my, I had to have, shoot. So currently I needed to have that filtered appropriately before I did my drills. Let's see if I can navigate back or if I have to start over. I'm going to just try undoing a couple things. And because I moved to metrics, I think I'm toasted. All right. So very important point. Let me make it again. However you have the, if you have any filtering up here, however you have it set, when you do a drill, that's how the drill is going to act. So it did. It went from my query level 2 to 1 to query, but it was filtered only on chats. So that's the only data that was actually brought back. Let me show you how to do it the correct way or a different way. Again, I'm going to go back to my analysis, my interaction categories. I'm going to select the same session by double-clicking on it. Going to collapse my filtering, go back to level 2 just like we had it, and run the report. I'm going to select all of my level 2 query groups. Notice, right, I can't pick a mix of query group level 1s and level 2s. When I come in and I say, hey, do it at level 2, the only options that I have are level 2s. So I can't mix and match the different levels on the report. All right, now I'll go back to my drill. I apologize, or to my graph, my grid. So now I'm at my total. And let's go ahead and do the drilling again. It's good exercise anyway. We're going to drill to level 1. We'll sort. So now I have all my build group level 2 together. I've drilled to level 1. And again, from the attribute, I'm going to drill again to the query. And this time, because I'm showing the total, it is calculating all of that information for me. So now I'm all the way down at the query level, and I can see the number of unique media files hit. And the percentages. Again, now I can use my filtering to show only audio. You'll notice all my chat numbers go to 0. And if I were to change it to chat, all of my audio file numbers go to 0. Total will give me both of them. So that's how, when I think about things, how I can drill down, and I can do the same thing from the report, is when I'm at query group level 2, I can drill into level 1 of a particular query group, and then I can drill down into the queries. So if you think about it, you go, oh, wow, why are, let's see, here's DSL service, right? Why are there so many interactions about DSL service? Let me drill into that. And then I can see, right, how many are chats and how many are, so I see, I'm getting 400 chats and 172. Of course, this audio is very lightweight. There's not a lot of calls in here or chats. But now you can be able to see at least where your interactions are coming from. And right, I can drill to the interaction itself. So I went to my bill pay chats, and when I go into, it's going to open up search. Oh, search was already open. And then it's going to process only for the media type chat. It will return me the chats. And of course, just close this. It will have my bill pay hit on there. And if it had multiple hits, which doesn't look like this is going to, because it's, yeah, talking about the billing info tab. Which again, it looks like I could write something on recurring payments, and just like we would do in search, right? From a report, I'd get a bucket of calls, and I'd say, "Oh, cool. Now I can look. Oh gosh, I keep hearing recurring payments. Well, let me go ahead and search." Right? I'm going to just search my chats because that's all I have. So recurring payments, and I'll conduct a search. It's probably all 8 of them, I guess. But what it does now, yeah, is it ad hoc searches all of my calls that met bill. And now I'm seeing my recurring payments. So now I'm seeing multiple hits. Again, anything that is a query hit would be a link so I could view the query itself. Everything in quotes is from my ad hoc searches. So, the cool thing about it is the thought process really doesn't change a lot, because now, again, I'm just treating all interactions the same. I'm going to report on them with all of my reports. If I'm interested in one interaction type over another, I can do that. And then if I want to drill into search to investigate, I can do that as well. Just test something real quick. I'm going to go back to analysis. And let's say that I drill to the interactions, right, at the highest level, at bill group 2. So I would expect to see all 4 of those query hits somewhere in these calls, or at least one of those. Let's see how many chats that I get. So notice now I have 324. They are audio and chat. Because remember, let me just flip back over to analysis real quick to show you what I did is I drilled from bill group 2. So that would have all of the queries from bill pay chat, my bill pay audio, my billing chat, and my billing questions audio. So all of these interactions must hit at least one of those queries. And then remember, here are my filtering. I have all, or I have, of those 324, 147 were from my audio media, and 177 were from my chat. So if I wanted to filter just on the chat, I could do so, or just on my audio, I could do so. And then once again, it's opened up to ad hoc searching. So I can ad hoc search these 324 files to see what else is happening on them. And if you'll recall back from our very first session, right, I could search just the audio based on a specific, let's see. So I could search audio and chat for cancel my service, but perhaps only chat for cancel. Get rid of the audio. So again, what am I doing is I'm saying find cancel my service in audio or chat, find the word cancel in only chat, find files that do contain any, which means an or statement. And then again, I have my audio time basis and my text word basis. I'm going to mess with those. I'll just click search and see what happens. So of those 324 calls, again, it's searching for cancel my service in the audio and cancel my service or the word cancel in chats. So I have 47 audio and 89 chats. If I filter just on the chats, I could go down and start finding out what did we hit on. All the different queries that we have and phrases. So that's kind of taking you, all the way from a query, putting that query in a query group. That query group, of course, has to be in a session so it can process. Then that session processes the results where I can go in and consume them in reporting. And then from reporting, I can drill down into search and actually look at multiple interaction types. Questions there? Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So one other thing that I do want to show you from a reporting perspective is, again, I went into the categorization interaction category report. I'm just going to stay there for right now. We can certainly do this with the trending report or any of the other reports that are out there. They're all going to work basically the same. So again, I'm going to select a session that has both audio and chat in it. I'm going to select my date range, and then I can filter. So just like always, I could filter by my metadata, so any kind of metadata filtering I want to apply. I can filter by my metrics. And remember, we talked about this. So I'll have to go back and see what those metrics are, the chat metrics. And then it's at what level. SSA is speaker separated, so you guys probably won't even see that in your application. So I have query groups, I have queries, I have term lists. By default, it's going to default to query, and it's going to show everything at the query level. So the one other thing that I want to show you is by media type. So this is if I was coming in, and you know what, my session is all about just, what I want to focus on are just text. And in my text, I want, chats and emails. So what this is doing, remember it's a filter, so it's defining the population of calls that is going to be brought into my report. So it's saying, hey, I want from this session, so whatever calls and chats or calls and text it's pointing to, I want this particular date range that we're going to define in a minute, and then I want you to return only chats or emails. So now when I run my report, right, I'm going to get my level 2 groups. I've got my date range, and I'm going to click to run report. Now when it runs the report, it says, hey, you were only interested in text, right? I said chats or emails. And so when I go and I now look at the media type, this this session actually didn't have any emails in it. So the only thing that I can get to are chats. So all of the values here are chat values. Notice when I click on chat, it doesn't change between chat and total. And once again, if I navigate drill, recall last time I drilled at the attribute level. This time I'm going to do a single click drill just so we can see the difference. If I click on services group 2, notice everything else disappears and it says, okay, you said you're only interested in whatever was in service group 2. If I do that again, now it's just going to say you wanted service group 2 and only the DSL stuff. There's no way to get back to those other items, those other attributes, because I said this is all I want to see. That's what a single click drill does. Again, if you want to keep the information, then you use the drill at the attribute level. And here it is. I have two queries. The chat query, has so many interactions hit. And of course, the audio query has 0 because I said I only want, right here it is, media type text, media type email, chat. So regardless of what I do to my filtering, I started from the onset of saying I only wanted to see chats or emails. That's what's going to bring me. See if I can count. I can't from a drill. So here again, if I did do a single click drill like as long as that's what you wanted, that's fine. But you have to remember that I can't get back to that other data without rerunning the report. It's the same way it worked in audio, by the way. That's nothing different. That's just the difference between a single click drill and then the advanced drill, which is right click off of the attribute name or the column header. Your other reports remain the same. So, for example, I go into trending. I see day of week, intraday trending, just like always. If I click on my straight trending report, once again, this is going to trend over time. I'll select my audio and chat interactions. I have my date range. Let's go ahead and collapse those. These are all filter bys. So I know if I filter by media type, I'm only going to get a chat or an audio. So I'm going to leave that all, and I can click Run Report. And now all it's going to do is take that information, provide me the trending of, this starts out with duration. We'll go with unique media files hit. And once again, I have my total, and I can go down to my media types and look at just audio hits versus just chat hits on those particular days. So how you run the report, very similar. Just now, if I happen to have multiple media types in there, I'm going to be able to quickly use a page by filter and filter to those different media types. Questions about reporting? Have you guys used, did you use the reporting in the version 11 instance of the Microsoft environment?
We have at various level for different projects. Some of the team members have a little bit more skill in it.
Yep.
I definitely wouldn't consider myself to be, a pro in reporting, but definitely can navigate through it and pretty comfortable with the old interface, the new interface. Very similar, just incorporating the chat.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only the difference is, the big thing, of course, is that, of course, the look and feel to get used to, and just your icons. Where are they and what do they mean?
Yeah, definitely one of those things, getting hands-on and just practicing and getting the experience.
Yep. And because from a reporting standpoint, you run these reports just like always. Now I just have the ability to, look at a specific interaction type. That's really the only big thing that happens. I think this is reprompt. I'm still learning my icons as well. So when I reprompt, based on, the big thing is based on your session, that's what's going to drive what you're going to be able to see. Because some of these sessions only have audio. So if I go back and I look at my telco all calls, for example, and now I run this report. This is a trending report that I ran. Right, it's just going to show me the information for audio. I'll still see my media type here, but it's total or audio, right? So there's nothing else that I can see. I, of course, still have my metrics that are available, etc., to be able to filter by or to view by. So, whatever familiarity you have with reporting, again, remains pretty consistent. The big things are just the navigation on the left-hand side. You guys are probably getting used to that. I'm starting to. And then, of course, just the look and feel. But from a reporting standpoint, whatever report you always use, you go in and you run it the same way. My non-talk analysis still has my analysis and my distribution report, and I can go in and run one of those reports. And again, based on whichever, oops, my mouse is a little happy today. So based on whichever session I select, again, I'm going to just collapse these, and then you see the rest of them are just filter by. So I'm going to just go ahead and run my report. And so now my report is showing me talk time and non-talk. And in chat, so I'm not sure, the reason I did that, I'm not sure what is being picked up, quote unquote, as non-talk. I don't know if that is the...
So that's actually a question that I do have, and I am curious about how it's determining what the talk and non-talk time is, because I've seen the mass team use that in some of the early reporting. And when I asked, well, how is it coming up with that number? Where is that number coming from? I think what they pointed to was in the report there is an option for interval. And my takeaway from that, I'm not sure that this is 100% correct, though, is that interval makes a determination of how long it's idle. So if there was like set a 5 minute interval that there's a, if there's no chat in 5 minutes, then it's considered non-talk. But I don't know if that's correct. That's just what my takeaway from that was.
Okay. I'll investigate that. I mean, we know that we start picking up non-talk in audio, right, when there's 4 minutes of silence. So what does that equate to in text? And it's a really good question. I don't know that answer, so I'll definitely take that as a to-do and find out. So how is non-talk? Now, from a duration standpoint, what I do know is duration is like, the start of your chat has a start date and time, and it has an end date and time. And so duration is simply the difference between those two. So durations in chat, maybe 16 minutes, they may be 20 minutes. But again, what is that idle time? You can also look at, the turns and the average time that it takes for an agent for a response to come back. So that would be the time in between the turns, basically. But let me look into that for you and get back with you on that, because that's a great question that I have not asked yet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The other thing that I just jotted down that I'm a little unsure of, because again, I really haven't done a whole lot of investigating in these standard reports as it pertains to text, but I know that there are several other metrics that are available. Now that we don't have a defined set of reports specifically for text, so before I would go to my multi-channel reports and I would look for turn times and things like that. I didn't see, and I looked before this session to see, if there was anything out here, even a report builder just for text, so I could get to the text-related metrics, and to report on, not to filter on. So most of them I can get to from a filtering standpoint, but not to report on. So I'll just I'll do a little more investigating and go to our MicroStrategies folks and ask them about specifically about the metrics around there. And I'll send you guys that as well. Anything I learned from this, I'll just do a quick test here and just see. I should have chat metrics here that I could report on, and I'm just not seeing those. See if they've maybe named it something else. Yeah. So let me investigate that for you guys and see. And I'll shoot an email to Brooke and let her distribute it out. Specifically around that non-talk determined, and then also the metrics.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Again, just you bet. Just hit a finalization. Somebody to check off. Yes, that's how it's 5 minutes. Before non-talk or whatever it is, from a chat perspective. Are there any other questions that I can either answer or at least say I'm going to dig into it and find the answers for you?
In regards to reporting, that's the biggest one I can think of, but we haven't done a whole lot of reporting yet, and that's one of the ones that I saw and I encountered. I don't know if Daniel's done any additional reporting or seen any additional reports Or Shiji's on the line. I don't know if she has any questions.
Yeah, I think for me it's
And
the lack of exposure to the reporting on the
yeah,
pilot, but we're going to get there
and that's
eventually, so I'm sure the questions will come.
yeah. So yeah, as you guys have questions, definitely let me know. And like I say, uh, a lot of this is new to me as well. So I just go to the sources and I try to get all the questions together and then ask them in one session as opposed to just emailing them as they come up. So, but these are definitely big questions that I will get answers to and let you guys know, because I know it won't be long before you're out there looking at reports and trying to compare things from a audio and from a text. Do you see that? And this is a really good question. As far as how you're going to use it, do you see that that's the main directive, is looking at, for example, for simplicity terms, something like call categorization, and comparing text to audio? Or do you look at this as a chat application where you want to go in and just investigate the chats, really with no relation to audio? And it may be a combination of both.
So at this time, I know that we're really focused on chat and only really chat functionality. I don't know what any additional greater plans are above and beyond. I would suspect eventually there will be a move to move everyone over to 12, but I mean that would be an assumption on my part. That doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean it is fact, because I know we just moved to 11.3 for production.
Yep.
Um, I do know that chat though is living entirely at the moment in terms of the pilot here in 12.
Got it.
So I don't know if I managed to answer your question.
So, well, yes, in part, yeah. And I didn't even, I forgot that you guys were just in pilot here and just looking at this. So you're looking mainly at the chat functionality, not necessarily comparing outcomes of how many interactions do I get in chat versus how many interactions of the same type do I get in audio. Your focus is primarily on chat right now.
Yeah, I think the first thing we want to do is establish
Okay.
chat's viability and its
Yep.
usefulness, and from there we can start looking at other things. Daniel can correct me if I'm wrong,
Yep.
but until we determine whether or not chat's going to be viable on its own, that's going to be our first and foremost.
Makes
Yeah, I
sense.
agree with that.
Remember, you are being recorded. All right.
Nothing calms the nerves like knowing that you're recorded for prosperity and going to be
Yeah.
broadcast forever. It takes all the pressure off.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, that's really all I wanted to cover today in this session. Unless you guys have some more questions or want to look at something different as it relates to chats or text.
I'm good on my side. I'll look forward to
Absolutely.
the responses you get back from your team.
Yep. Yep. I'll definitely get on that tomorrow and come up with some answers and send those out, like I say, through Brooke.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
I think I'm
Well,
good
I
on mine as
appreciate.
well. Go
Cool.
ahead.
I appreciate you guys' questions and participation today.
No, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
All right, we'll close out the session then, and you guys have a great afternoon.